Salon people and then party them. Sarah Media will be bringing you a variety of programs ranging from documentaries to discussions, interviews, news, views, sports, and entertainment. Our programs will contain matters on development, governance, the economy, and issues that are of importance to Sierra Leone. So, no left BNO because we get Bebe program then like salon discussion, meets the ministers, the president's hour and the Gladi program. Look me, I look you. All this they start soon na www.sarahjmedia.org. Now who's tem these?
The total population of Sierra Leone in 2019 was stated approximately at 7.8 million. And the most common cancer reported in 2018 was breast cancer, with an incidence rate of 25.1% and a mortality rate of 19.2%. Ward 2 at the Connaught Hospital, Freetown, is a female surgical ward that cares for patients requiring breast surgery, chemotherapy, and palliative care. General surgery also admits to the ward as see fit. The ward is in need of a significant refurbishment and has a major impact on patient assessment and delivery of treatment, dignity, comfort, and infection control measures. The current ward area presents a significant challenge to infection control. There is no fit-for-purpose or adequate personal hygiene facilities. The showers and sanitary areas are in poor condition and are difficult to clean. The flooring is deteriorated. Overall deco and fabric of the walls need repair and full decoration. Furniture, cupboards, and shelving require replacement. The sluice, known to be the dirty utility room, is in poor condition and needs replacing. Windows need to be replaced as current windows bring in draughts, dust, debris, mosquitoes, and rodents. There is no designated area to provide a day service for patients receiving chemotherapy. Medical supplies is desperately needed. Therefore, we need a total amount of £15,000, which is equivalent to 195 million leones, for this project. This project will focus on women diagnosed with breast cancer and other non-malignant breast abnormalities requiring one or more of the treatment modalities that are currently available. We will also set up a day unit for the administration of chemotherapy and provide training and development to ensure sustainability. Therefore, I am pleading to all individuals, organizations, and local businesses, and every Sierra Leonean and friends of Sierra Leone to make a meaningful contribution that will never go in vain. Ways to contribute will be seen at the end of this clip. I am Aisata Sisejalo of the Health Show Partnership Program. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Nina Yvonne Akisoya, and 11th May 2021 make me 3 years where I don't day in office. I say let I come and tell Freetonians them, una boku tenki for where una elect me and una give me this mandate for serve una. But I not just want to tell una thank you for when I elect me, I want to tell una thank you for when I don't work with me and work with the councillors, work with the staff of Freetown City Council, work with so many stakeholders, including the central government, the international partners, the local partners. I want to tell una, the Freetonians, and thank you, but I want to tell all the other groups and the boku tenki. Together, we embark on a journey for Transform Freetown, and in nobody not been say it go easy. We published the plan in January 2019, and then in January 2020, we published with first year report, and then in January 2021, we don't publish with 2-year report. Inside the reports and day, you go able for read in much more detail, waiting we don't achieve. But family them, as I just share today some of the things that really make me heart gladdy pan this walk here. One thing we're really glad about, now the wastewater treatment plant where we don't build na King Tom. This na the first time ever in the history of Salone for let we get the thing we come on the toilet. Instead of it just gonna ground na King Tom, it actually go into a plant where they get for separate the solid from the liquid and get for treat them and waiting for come out can go towards manure. It can now be safely the liquid can now safely be disposed into the waterways. Another practical thing we are so glad for. Now this urban farming project, we bring over 300, in fact we start with 300, now we add another 200 women them. We now at them backyard them and in community level, particularly in deprived communities.
And you can create this, where you give, the okra they come up, they will plant them.
The women they do farming projects where go benefit them picking them for get more nutritious food, but it go also help them for get small thing at the hand as they sell them in the market. And then their nursery school. Family then go no say we've been done open the one at Congo Water Market for make vulnerable women them and then young picking it under the age of 5 get free quality preschool care. And now we dip and build the second one. We do refurbishment upstairs in the Cruton Road Market, and that facility will be open and available to women and men traders inside Cruton Road Market. Tricycles. Well, then tricycle and they not only then they help for keep we city clean, they also they create employment. We don't create so far over 1,200 jobs with young people then where they go and collect dirty in the streets. And now we get 90 more where they come on stream. So I'm so happy because it increased the capacity for collect dirty. At the same time, it increased the number of people them, young people that we get work. Let not talk and not talk about the transfer station when I did the dirty then they go. So we don't get 4 additional ones, including the one at Lumley, the one at Approved School, the one at Shell, and the one at Allentown. Bele Uman them. Then they all over the community. That journey for going to PCMH, it can challenge Boko of them. So we did work for upgrade 5 of we PHUs them for make them be monk, side with side Bele Uman, they able for born. Freetown people then, Boku people then know say dog na challenge na this city. And so we don't start a program for sterilize, vaccinate the dogs them so that we go get control over dogs and we the ambog motaman, but we the ambog themselves. We go make we city healthier and you go reduce the risk for let people then get us sick with and call rabies. I don't share small about wait we don't do and over these 3 years, but I just touch the thing in Boku. I go say anybody who wants for no more. Also go now with Facebook page. We get Freetown City Council Facebook page. We also get Yvonne Akisoya, Mayor of Freetown. You go able for follow we. Let we continue for work together with all we stakeholders for let collectively we transform Freetown. Una, thank you and God bless you.
Na Yvonne, Na Yvonne, talk and go, talk and come.
When I was young, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences seen now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we do now? Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abuse little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape, sexual abuse, or pedophilia, is a killer to human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence.
Speak now.
The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
I think death sentence should be the consequence of such terrible act.
And you mothers, build confidence in your children, put trust in them, listen to them when they make reports, and take necessary actions.
Talking of mothers before now, women were virtuous.
They were mothers, daughters, and sisters.
Nurturing, counseling, supporting their men folks.
But now, women are trafficking female children for money.
Women are forced to be silenced.
All this must stop, and it must stop now.
Real men do not abuse, rape, or molest women and children.
It is barbaric, unacceptable.
Let all real men stand with us.
Together, let's say an emphatic no to rape, sexual abuse, pedophilia, and domestic violence.
Greetings everybody. Una kushe, una kabo. I am Yusuf Jallo, the Cow Prince, and this is the Cultural Show with Sarah Gem Media. Today's show is about languages. We're going to look at African languages, we're going to look at Sierra Leonean languages, and we're going to open up the Kotoku, we are going to open up the Shukublai, so we can see what are the important values that we have in our languages in Africa and more so in Sierra Leone. I have some fantastic guests here with me today, but before anything, this is how I want us to start the show. But where I see una don't see don't so me at oh oh me at school oh oh me at don't go now oh oh me at school oh oh me at don't go now. Yes, me at don't call to see you all. Now today's show we're going to put it partly in English and also partly in Creole. For simple reason that my guests that I have today are not necessarily Creole speakers. They are from other parts of Africa. So, I want you all to really concentrate with us. Pay attention to us because this is the show, the cultural show that says to you, Kapu sense, no Kapu word. Kapu sense, no Kapu word. In other words, gather wisdom. Don't just hear words, but gather wisdom. Today's show about languages, we want to examine languages and their importance to our cultural development, but also to unity, also to economic development, but also in terms of decolonization. We're going to examine the crisscrossing of our languages in Africa. We're going to examine how other languages have influenced us. Now, when we talk of languages within Africa, we must understand that across Africa, we speak about 2,000 different languages across Africa. Of all these languages, in fact, it is said that probably the most popular language that is spoken within Africa is Arabic. Now, I know most people might be thinking, is it English? No, but actually it's Arabic is the most popular spoken language right across Africa. And I think this is also significant as well. We'll probably explore that a little bit as the time goes on. Let me put on make my glasses and put them on before I read little bit some kind of facts and statistics then for now. Now, right across Africa, of course, we talk French, we talk Portuguese, and quite a few other European languages, then of course, including English. Now, it says here, I'm going to throw this here. If you think that languages are not that important, because right now, for example, we are teaching Chinese, and people are arguing at the moment, why should we be teaching Chinese? Why should we be learning Chinese? Is it important for us to learn Chinese? All questions like this, I am going to throw to our guests that we have today. So before I go to my guests, I first of all want to introduce my co-host. He's no one other than the one and only King Mufasa, otherwise known as, I'm not going to say until he introduces himself. So King Mufasa, over to you to please introduce yourself.
Hello. Hello, my people. The King is speaking. This is King Mufasa coming to you live.
Yoruba, the word Yoruba actually came from Yaruba, because the old Oyo Empire was actually situated or located in the northern part of Nigeria. So the Hausa people used to refer to the Yoruba people then as Yaruba, which could be kind of a bit insulting. However, as they journeyed along, so the Yaruba now became popular, and they were using it for the Yoruba people. So, but eventually, so the word Yaruba actually changed to Yoruba. So in terms of like when you modernize, word or anything. Now, Yoruba people are very, very proud of their culture and their language as well. And Yoruba language has become one of the largest spoken language in Africa, because according to the researchers, about 35 million people speak Yoruba, both in Africa and in diaspora. And talk of Yoruba language is very, very complex, but very, very important. in our daily activities. Now, in Africa, Yoruba people can be found in Togoland, Lomé, in Côte d'Ivoire, Abidjan, in Ghana, as well as in Sierra Leone. And do not forget that Yoruba people actually inhabit western part of Africa, and the majority of the people live in Nigeria. However, because of the slave trade and slavery and things like that, so some people were dispersed to Ghana, Abidjan, and Sierra Leone. Now, Yoruba language is one of the language that has so many things attached to it. We have tonal language, because when we say something, we have what is called tonal language attached to it. And I will break that down. For example, if I say, mo fẹ́ jẹun, that means I want to eat. So we have what is called do re mi in Yoruba language. We have what is called do re mi, and that is what we use to differentiate different things that we say. Because in Yoruba language, you might have four words, yeah, or the same word. Let me just say the same word written with the same spellings, but with four different meanings. So how do you differentiate the meanings? By using the tonal language. For example, if you want to say Adewale Remimini, Adebowale Remidomini, you can see, you can hear re, you can hear do, you can hear me. So now, Yoruba language is one of the language that has really helped many Nigerians, many Yoruba people to establish themselves culturally, economically, and it has really helped, different environments where Yoruba people are located. I don't know, maybe I should just kind of stop for now or say more about Yoruba.
All right. Okay, that is fine. That is fine. Thank you very much. I'm glad you raised the issue, the area of tones. I just noted that down because that is something which we're going to expand on a little bit. But thank you so much, Ayan, the first, to give us just a brief synopsis of the Yoruba language, which many Sierra Leoneans will understand the impact of the Yoruba language on Yoruba people in Sierra Leone, and we're going to be looking at that much later on. But with that, after that, let me move on to my next guest, and this guest is somebody who, again, I have high respect for. He has been a pioneer performing artist here in the UK. He was here as a dancer, performing in the UK here as a dancer, long before somebody like me even came in the scene in the United Kingdom as a performing artist. So to a large extent, he's been a trailblazer in the arts. He's passionate about decolonizing, the decolonization of the African mind. Most of the project that he's done right across the world, and he's traveled extensively across the world, most of the project that he's done has been basically about promoting African heritage, about trying to find the commonalities that we all have within us as Black people, as African people. He hails all the way from Jamaica, via Ghana, via Sierra Leone. And please, una welcome the next guest, Mr. Dr. H. Paten.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much, Co-Footprints, for that big introduction. I thank you for that. And also, I have to say, thank you for inviting me on the show. And King Mufasa, also, thank you for inviting me and giving me a chance to say something. I feel quite humble being amongst such great people here. I think since I've been introduced secondly, I think it's only up that I actually make the note that Ayan the first, he started from the beginning, and he give you the origins of the Yoruba words and the Yoruba tracing and thing that connects through to Sierra Leone. But I will come from the other end, which is the end of it that returned. Because in Jamaica, we have what we call the Jamaican language. Some people call it Patois, some people call it the Creole, but it's a Jamaican language. Just like how in England they speak English, and in France they speak French, we say in Jamaica we speak Jamaican. Because when you start to use terms such as Patois and you use terms such as Creole, then you start to put a hierarchy in there. So I want to unpack a little bit about that and decolonize the use of language so that we are free when we use our language and we don't feel the pressure. We don't feel the pressure that we're less than when we're speaking to others. Okay? So really what I should have started with, when I say open your mouth, everybody would normally say Tory jump out. So open your mouth, Tory jump out. That's right. So that means when I open my mouth, I have to bring out a story. And this story really is a story about how we came to be in Jamaica, how we came to be in the Caribbean. Because I know Ayan the first, he mentioned slavery. And he mentioned that some of us were slaves. But we will argue and say, it's not that we were slaves, we were enslaved. And there's a big difference between being a slave, means that you're conditioned and your mind is that of a slave. Your mind is that of somebody who is subservient. But we were Africans who were enslaved. So first and foremost, we are Africans and we are people. We have a dignity that the word slave tries to erase from us. Now, how did this come about? Well, you know, historically, we know that the Europeans came to the Caribbean, led by Christopher Columbus, who they will say in history books discovered the Caribbean. But he didn't discover anywhere because the Amerindians were already there. And if that be the case, and they want to say that he discovered it, I can say my uncle came to Britain to fight in the war. And so he discovered Britain when he arrived here to fight in the war. But that wouldn't be correct, as we all know. So he was the first, Columbus was the first European to come. And when he came to the Caribbean, he found it was good for growing the cash crops and things. He went back and told Europe, and Europe came tracing, all of them came running to the Caribbean to divide it up amongst themselves. And that's why in the Caribbean, today we have 5 national languages: English, French, Spanish, Dutch, and Portuguese. Now, this comes about because when they got to the Caribbean, they met the Amerindians there. They tried to enslave the Amerindians and use them to grow all these cash crops, the sugar cane, tobacco, and various things. But the way they treated the Amerindians very badly, many of them died, and then their bodies had no resistance to the European diseases. So the simple cold and flu was wiping out people at a rate that is greater than the COVID pandemic is wiping out people right now. So that's why in many countries, there are no more Amerindians left. They've all died off. So in order to continue to grow cash crops, they went to Africa and collected people. But they never invite anybody. They start to kidnap, steal, and take them away. So when they're taking them from the different countries, as you know, in each country, people are speaking multiple languages, many different languages. So once they were captured and taken onto those slave ships, they had to find a way to communicate with each other. And so at first, you know, they would use the songs and things to communicate with each other. But still, people could only understand if they understood the language. But they could empathize with each other and connect through the music, through the songs, through the laments that would be sung for those who were being taken away. So when they got to the Caribbean, they tried to learn each other's languages. But for ease, what happened was that they then started to learn the language of the enslaver. And they started to mix the various African languages inside of it. And that's how we arrive at what is now called the Patois or the Creole. They're languages that are derived from the European language and the African languages. So some of the words that we use, if I'm to use it, you'll understand it. So if I'm going to call you to eat, I say, ono kong kom nyam. Because the word nyam is a word that means eat. So ono kong kom nyam. And if rain fall and the ground is wet, we say the ground potter potter. So you see, there's words that you will recognize and you will know, this is one of our words, and it's mixed and fused with some of the European languages. And then again, when you talk about the tonal thing that will come until later on, the tone is important as well, because even today in the modern language, in the modern age, we still use the tonal language. So if I go and see something, I say, boy, that was bad. That means it was very good. If somebody give me something and it's not nice, it's not looking palatable, I say, that look bad. You see? So the tone tells you a little bit about what it's like. But also when we use words that sound like what they mean. So if you see a woman and you say, what a bunununus girl, that means what a nice girl. You hear the word bunununu? Bunununu sound nice. But if somebody give you a cake and you take it from them and I say, that cake look chaka chaka. As you hear the word chaka chaka, that tell you that this don't look good. So you see, we use words that actually sound like what they mean. And this is the way in which our language becomes totally expressive of our nature. And therefore, the decolonizing process is about taking our language and using our language in the coded ways so that we can speak to each other. As I said earlier on, I'm sure we're going to cover all of this. As a child, your parents talking to each other, they see somebody coming that they had a problem with before, and they look at each other and they do so. That means, look at that one. Anybody who wasn't looking at them at the time, they didn't even see that they signal. You as a child misbehaving, they give you a look. And you know what that means when you reach home. So you straighten up and start to behave yourself. And nobody know what happened because they didn't see that code. And as they talk, they use the one word to mean many things. And there's a Guyanese artist who did a poem called The Ting that summed it up. Because he talk about Ting, who see Ting going down the road with Ting. And when them pass the Ting, Ting look on the other one and Ting see, and it go along, and for everything, if you know the story, you know what thing they're talking about at each point. So you see, language is important, and it's a key for speaking, but the language isn't just the spoken word. It's very visual. They say if you want to stop a Jamaican from talking, cut off with hand. Because as you can see, when I'm talking, my hand is working all the time. So
I think, hey, I want you to hold that point a little bit, because that is like a whole section I want us to go into. But I think you've given us a really, really important look into the Jamaican language. And you're right, many times we will say Jamaican patois. And in fact, I remember my dad would always say, those Jamaican people, they're talking their rubbish again. You know, when they listen to I Roy, or You Roy, or Yellow Man, and all of them, when they do their thing, you know, my dad would say, these people, they've spoken enough Igbo, enough spliff, so they're talking, they don't know what they're talking about. So all of that as well is part of what I will call our misconceptions in languages as well, and that is something which I will have to look at as well. Misconceptions when we begin to look at areas of status and so on. I want us to examine that, various misconceptions, because I know when we hear, for example, Madingo people speak, there are misconceptions we have. When we hear Fula people speak, there are misconceptions we have, and so on. And chants, when we use the word chants, that's another important form of looking at communicating, because in any language there are spiritual ways that we communicate to bring spirit. So that's another angle which hopefully in the program we'll examine as well. But before even we get carried away with all of that, let me introduce the next guest. This guest here, I mean, he jumped in today, and I'm so excited that he jumped in, because my people, my Sierra Leone people, I have been trying for 2 weeks to try to get a Creole guest here. 2 weeks I've been trying to get Creole person, somebody who speaks Creole very well, to be here. I got one person, and unfortunately that person is working, so she could not leave her workplace. And I've tried so hard to get a Creole person, because I wanted a Creole speaker here for very, very good reason. It's important. Why? And not only that, many of you might probably say, hey look, Nasoso Mande, there's all just men. I tried hard to get women on the program as well. I tried hard. Myself, T-Boy also tried. We tried hard to get women on the program. We could not get women on this program. We want more women to step up. If there are any people who are the custodians of languages, it is you, the women. Women, you are the custodians of our languages. As soon as became born, when a child is born, the first person that child hears is mama. In fact, even before the child is born, that child would be hearing mama in the stomach all along. So we need women. This program is so important for us to have women. When we're talking of culture, women, you are at the center of all of this. So please, we need more women guests. But enough of my rant, enough of my wahala. Let me go to my next guest. This next guest, like I said, he stepped in last minute when we could not get the other Creole speaker. We tried to get a Bende person as well. That did not work out as well. So hopefully it will change. But I'm so proud of this man that just stepped in. You know, he's I mean, like, last minute, dropped everything he's got to do. He's got to come in. Why? Because he is a proud Madingo man. He's a proud Madingo man. And my grandmother, you know, I grew up with my grandmother around Soso people and Madingo people. So for me, it's great to have a Madingo speaker here. And the Madingo people are great people. But let me don't say much about that. Let me introduce my guest, and he will give us a little bit of synopsis about the Madingo people. Please, I want you all to welcome here Mr. Mohammed Sanusi Tarawali.
Hello. Good day to everyone. Annually. Hello?
Yes, we're listening to you.
Okay.
Please, I want you.
Good day.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be among, to be with you guys today because, when you talk about language, it's one of the most important, it's one of the most important blessings. Because without language, if you look at the business world, culture, everything, it consists of language. So today I'm here to represent Madingo, So first and foremost, just like you have mentioned my name, I'm one of Mandel Global ambassador in USA. So Mandel Global, the reason we formed Mandel Global, so that our children and grandchildren can know how to speak our language. So that we, the Madingos, we can come together because they say unity is strength. If you are divided, you cannot build a nation without building your home. You first have to build yourself. Then from there, you extend branch to other people, just like a tree. If you look at the tree, the way the tree grow up, it extends the branches before it starts seeing the fruit. So with the Madingo, we came purposely together, Mandel Global, that means Madingo worldwide. We came purposely together so that we can unify, we can become one united forces for good. So with that being said, then we can extend our strength to other tribes because we all are the same. But just like you mentioned, Madingo, if you look at any tribe in West Africa, they have Madingo in their family. Maybe your grandmother or your grandfather or your great-great-grandfather might be Madingo. The reason being that, as we look at history, Madingo was once a great empire in Africa. If you look at the history of Sunjata Keita, Mansa Musa, Musa Keita, those who are Madingo leaders, they were not only a leader, they were unified, they create unity. That's why today, if you look at Sierra Leone, we have Madingo. You look at Liberia, we have Madingo. You look at Guinea, we have Madingo. You go to Mali, we have Madingo. Ivory Coast, Senegal, Gambia, Togo, Ghana, Burkina Faso, and many, many, many other places, down to Senegal. The reason being that Madingo were once a ruler in Africa. And today, we can say they succeed, but because of colonialism, because when the British and other empire came in, they wiped out the history of all the foundation, like they thinned the whole lot together. Because once Sierra Leone, Guinea, they were all one people. If you look at, we have Madingo in Guinea, we have Madingo in Sierra Leone. During the war, when the Madingo traveled to Guinea, they don't feel like foreigner. When the Fula travel to Guinea, they don't feel like foreigner. So that goes to show that we were one people, But because of one reason or another, we were divided. So this topic is a very important topic. But before I go further, I would like to bring you one story of Sunjata Keita. So Sunjata Keita, hello?
Carry on, we're listening to you. When you talk of stories, we all want to hear stories.
Yes, Sunjata Keita, during his childhood, he have one friend that he is always fond of. He cannot eat without him. He cannot even go to bed without him. They were together. But when the day they crowned him as the leader, that friend came to him and draw his beard like this. Surprisingly, they asked his friend, so, hey, why are you doing that to me? I said, why? What do you think? Because you are the king right now? Say, because you are the king among us? Say, remember, you was my friend. So we are friends. I said, okay. we are friends. That's true. We are friends. I know you joking with me. Say, but remember, one day me too will joke with you. So days go by, months, you know, the friend already forgot. Then one day, Sunjata Keita came to visit his friend. Then he commanded his army to hold his friend and kill him. So, you know, he told one of his army, he said, take the sword, the knife, cut him into two. If you miss that, I will put you in jail. So when that happened, the friend became so fearful, afraid. Say, oh, I told you he's my friend. Why is he treating me like this? So no sooner they put the sword up, they want to put the sword down to divide his friend into two. He said to he said to everybody, he said, stop right there. He's my friend. Don't do that to him. So that's good to show that even when the kings became so powerful, they recognize their friend, they recognize their family, they recognize everyone around us. Those were people, power didn't change them, authority didn't change them. And let me tell you another story about Sunjata Keita. He have a daughter, you know, this daughter age go all the way to 25. And nobody ever came to say, oh, Sunjata Keita, I want your daughter for marriage. So that didn't bother him because everyone were afraid of him. So one day someone came from all the way from another country and came and see Sunjata Keita. He said to Sunjata Keita, he said, this is my kasake. Kasake is something that when you die, they bury you with it. He said, this is my sankate. I'm ready to die. The word that I'm going to tell you today, you can choose to kill me. I'm ready. I'm prepared for it. So Sunjata Keita smiled. Say, why I'm going to kill you when you didn't do nothing to me? So, well, everyone said to me, you are a killer. So I'm ready to die. He said, no, those that say I'm a killer, they lie. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I maintain law and order. You know, I punish the wrongdoer. If you're a good person, we'll make sure we reward you, we elevate you. So don't be scared. Tell me what is your purpose? Then the man proposed to Sunjata Keita a daughter. He said, I came proposing to marry your beautiful daughter. Sunjata said, praise be to God. He was so happy. He embraced the guy. He said, wow, today is a wonderful day. For 25 years, nobody ever said to my daughter that they want to marry her. So today you came, you say you want to marry my daughter, it's all yours. He married his daughter, only daughter to this man. Then all the other inhabitants, young youth people, they came, young people, they came. They said, oh, Sunjata Keita, why you betray us? This is a betrayer. This daughter, we went to school together, we do everything in common together. So why you didn't give your daughter to her instead of another person that came all the way from far distance, and the person don't have money, he don't have influence, he don't have nothing. So where did we go wrong? Sunjata Keita said, you went wrong with one thing, that is courage. This man came with courage. He didn't fear me because I'm a king. We are all human. Why should you fear me? We should only fear our Creator, God Almighty. I'm not better than you, you are not better than me. The only difference, I'm your king. You know, that's the only difference. So all of you guys, one day, none of you said to me, you want my daughter for marriage. So hey, so don't blame me, blame yourself. So my dear brother and sister, Madingo is a very rich culture, very, very rich. That's why purposely we came together. Mande Global came together. Our president, Ismail Kalon, presently his present resident is in London, UK. So we came together purposely to form Mande Global. And guess what? We have ambassadors in all countries in the world. We have
can I ask you a question? Can I just jump in there quickly,
Yes,
Mr. Sanusi? Because since we've all just kind of like done a nice introduction, I just want to ask you a quick question before I go to I'm going to go back to Mr. Sylvester. Well, not Sylvester, to King Mufasa. I'm going to go to King Mufasa later on. But have you guys opened a school to teach Madingo here in the United Kingdom?
Yes, we have a school worldwide. So we are teaching Madingo every Thursday. We teach Madingo there. Every Sunday we give tests to, so that you can know your level of understanding. Like some of our students, they are Fula, Mende, Limba, Kisi, Soso, white people, from all over the world. So we teach Madingo. Yes.
Okay, definitely. That's something which I'd love to explore for a little bit further. But let me go to King Mufasa. Please, a little bit of your background, because from you, I want to go into another area that is very interesting, and I want to try to bring Femi in at some point as well. But King Mufasa, let us hear from you quickly.
What do you want to hear from the King Mufasa, Powerful Twins? Because King Mufasa, as I am, I'm a Kono. My dad is a Kono, and my mom is a Susu. And my dad originally came from Mali. Great-great-grandfathers came from Mali, from the Mansa Musa era. My great-granddad was a warrior. And when in Kansalon, definitely they were hunting elephant trunks. So that's why we ended up at the forest areas of Sierra Leone, when at the Kono eastern part of Sierra Leone. So basically, the Kono, that the tribe were emerged from, and we get a language called Kono language. And we are one of the very few tribes that we language, we place, and we tribe are the same, Kono. We speak Kono, we come from Kono, and we are Kono people. So we are so unique.
Now, I want to ask a quick question, because I'm just trying to see if I can move this, move the dialogue even further. Now, looking at the Kono people, I understand that the word Kono comes from the Madingo, Ikono.
The actual one is Makono. It
Makono.
means wait for me. So basically what happened is, since we all came from the same Mali Empire, we were all like fighters. We Mansa Musa send go invade the other parts of West Africa. We especially being get elephant trunks, because Mansa Musa was a great warrior, and he was actually sending most of his fighters into other parts of West Africa so they can be able for capture and get them for hunting elephants, because they use the elephant trunk as ivory sails. So basically, when we, the Kono people, actually end up in Guinea and, in Kono, in Sierra Leone and some parts of Liberia, and we did not return back because we were meant to stay there and then establish the region as one of the colonies of Mansa Musa the Great. So basically, we stayed in Kono, and then they refused to go back, and then the Madingo then say, well, una wait for Winaya soup, and the word meaning Makono. So Makono, we get the word we derive from Kono. Now that's it means. So the Madingo then say, well, okay, since una say una the left, well, una wait for Winaya, like we go come. So when the Madingos go to the other parts of West Africa, down to Liberia and Gambia, the one that we go end up in Liberia, they became more closely to be the Vice. We'll get similar kind language and similar kind culture. But Kono itself is a very unique language. We get very close similarities with Madingo. Now they can really talk Creole and English. So we get so many words that we similar, sound the same, and carry the same meaning. But like
now,
you said,
the last time when today we have a Madingo man. We have a Madingo man with us here. But I remember when I asked a Madingo man when they listen to a Kono speaker, the Madingo person said to me, the Kono speaker is like a child learning to speak Madingo. That's what it sounded like to the Kono person. But now that's I want to take this. I want to shift it a little bit over to Dr. H. Paten. Now, Dr. H. Paten, in Sierra Leone, the Jamaican culture have a very strong impact in specifically Freetown, and today, I would say right across West Africa. And this language that we call Creole, when we speak a lot of you people in Jamaica will understand. And not only that, I think the oldest church in Freetown is the Maroon Church, which still stands there today. I wonder, the question for you, when we're looking at decolonizing a language or using language, or even decolonizing a language as much as decolonizing the mind, for your Jamaican patois that you have, how much role does it play in helping you as Jamaican people? Because when you talk of decolonizing, it's about finding your own identity as well. And how much has your language played the role in finding your identity as a Jamaican people, knowing, of course, that you have such far roots from Africa and many other places per se, but how has that patois helped you all to define yourself as an identity? You're muted. Please unmute yourself. Unmute.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt when others are speaking, so apologies for that. But thank you for making that observation, because as you know, in terms of Freetown, it was Jamaicans who had returned back to Africa and returned to Sierra Leone that helped to establish Freetown. And the Maroon Church was established by those Jamaicans when they arrived there, and then they were taken to the cotton tree. And then, as I know the story, they were told that they could walk on anywhere where they stop and settle, that would become theirs, and they walked for 12 miles until they reach Adonka. And then when they reach Adonka, they said that's where they want to be. And when everybody asked them, why you come so far? Why you stop here? They say, I don't care. I don't care, until eventually become I don't care. Which is typical of how we speak in Jamaica as well. We use what we call the economy of language. But the way in which we use the economy of language, where we shorten words so that we can get the meaning over in a quick way and a quick form, that's what brings about the beauty of the language in terms of what I was saying before, how it sounds like what it means, as well as it's shortening and borrowing bits of language from other languages and bringing it together in a way that sounds exciting and dynamic. And so this is what makes Jamaican music in particular, the reggae music and the dancehall music, so popular. And so through the reggae and the dancehall music and the language, the Jamaican language used within these forms, that is what has made Jamaica very popular and put us on the map. So the music of Bob Marley, wherever I travel, as soon as I say I'm a Jamaican, they say, oh, Bob Marley, and people start to sing a little of Bob Marley's song. Even in countries where English is not their first language, because, you know, Jamaican language is derived from the English with the different African languages mixed together. But even where English isn't the first language, they still can sing your Bob Marley song.
Do you know of any word in Jamaican patois? It's just because you talk about African languages as well that are there. I think it'll be interesting to figure out the crisscrossing of words from African languages that might be in Jamaican patois. I mean, I know you mentioned word like poto poto. We use the same thing in Sierra Leone when we say poto poto. It means exactly the same thing.
And then also King Mafaso just said ona, and we say ono. So you can see the correlation there. When him say honor, meaning all of you, we say honor, all honor, you know, meaning all of you as well. So there are many words like that cross over, and we have the direct connection, you know. Even words like chaka chaka, you'll find it in different countries in Africa. and also the food as well, because you know, like we have Gary Futu, which you'll find in Ghana. We have what we call turn corn meal, which is like similar to the fufu that you have. And so we have all of these things that are still connecting us back. And so therefore, part of the decolonization process is where you start to recognize what you have and place the value on it so that others have to respect it and put value on it as well, so that it's not seen as something less than, it's seen as something on equal footing with. And so therefore, when you look, even with the Jamaican language, you start to find, if you listen even to, at one point in the UK, you listen to the TV, you only heard the BBC Queen's English spoken. But now you'll hear somebody and they make an expression and say, yes, blood. And when I hear yes, blood, I turn around expecting to see a Jamaican, and it's an English person using the term. And you start to find even news presenters using influences that come from the Jamaican language. And so, therefore, this is all part of the process. And this came directly from those who came to the UK, from the Windrush generation, and that generation, my parents' generation, and then the first generation, like myself here, and then subsequent generations who have been developing words and new words and languages that connect back to the Jamaican language, but it makes the English more dynamic. And so even when you listen to grime, you hear within the grime Jamaican words, you hear African words. And now part of the decolonizing process is that because Jamaican language became popular and people started to adopt it, then what I feel is that helped give Africans the power to come out and start to push their own languages and their own music. And that's why Afrobeat is becoming so big now, and you have people like Stormzy who can stand up now and tell everybody that he's a Ghanaian with no apology. You see what I mean?
I see what you mean. In fact, Brother H, you just said something that's so important, because I will switch this to Ayan, because what you said there is a really good way you talk about the Afrobeat. So Ayan the first, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fine. Ayan the first, you are a Yoruba musician, a traditional Yoruba musician, an Ayan. Yes. Now, an Ayan is like what we would say in West Africa, we would say a Jaliba. You are the ones who are next to the king, playing and recording the history of the society. That's, right. That's who you are. I remember in Sierra Leone when my dad used to play Ebenezer Obey. And I used to listen to Chief Jebodiah Okologbo alias 430. I remember listening to those music and those comedy, and those people spoke in your Nigerian pidgin. Now in Sierra Leone, you spoke like that for a Sierra Leone. It's like what kind of people like this that are so uncivilized? Now, I wonder, based on what Brother H has just said, we've now looked at somebody like Fela, who was speaking and singing in pidgin, and wherever he went, he sang in pidgin, which was very uncool to many people. I wonder, for you as a Yoruba man, how has that affected you, if at all? Because when we look at this language that we call English, that we're all speaking to right now, how has it affected you all in terms of your status in speaking Yoruba, or even in terms of your identity? And so, but how has it affected you, if at all? If not, how have you affected others? Because we're going to come to the point of looking at Yoruba in Sierra Leone as well. But how, how do you see that point that Brother H also just made?
Well, personally, that has never affected me because I believe so much in myself, in my culture, my language, and I believe that it is high time, if not before our generation, it is high time we value what we have and then we decolonize ourselves. Okay? And then my belief is if you take a language from anyone, yeah, that person will never know anything about its origin once that language has been taken of that person, because that person will end up relying on borrowed culture, borrowed language, borrowed this and that and that. So personally, that has never affected me one bit. And then I was brought to this country as a performing and visual artist. And since I've come to this country, I've been promoting my culture. And that is what I'm doing, and that is what I'll keep doing until I, say, okay, I've had enough at the age of like maybe 1995, whatever. So back to your question, have I affected people with what I do? A lot. I've affected so many people. And then wherever I am, even when I'm traveling on the Grand Train, I dress like this. When people say, "Oh, I love your outfit," I say, "Oh, this is the best outfit." Then I speak my language to them. I say, "Bawoni." Then they'll be looking at me. Why you say, "Okay, Bawoni"? All right, okay, let me tell you, because I went to school to learn English language. So now you are my student. Now let me teach you about my language. Bawoni is how are you? And I said, okay, I'm fine. Can you repeat? Can you say to me when I ask you Bawoni, can you reply Dadani? Then Bawoni, then Dadani. So that means I'm fine. I'm very well. So personally, I believe language is one of the pillar that really, really hold us, firm and firmly to the ground, because without the language, there's nothing we can do. We can, like Yoruba language, we have different ways, like every other language. We have words for when you just come back from out there, or you went, to a journey, you just came back from a journey. You have what a cabo, shidadalede. Now, chotijel, have you eaten? We have different, words for each action, whatever you do. So that has never affected me, because I believe so much in my culture. Because I believe, with due respect to other culture, I believe that my culture is the best. So, yes, that's
now,
me.
But you know something now, Ayan. But I mean, Ayan, the first, you're saying something which is so important, because I mean, there are many questions I really want us to address here. But what we are on right now, I think, is also very important. I want to look at language in terms of status. Now, Brother H, I can see you want to say something here. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, it's just a little thing that Brother Ayan the First, I'm sure he didn't mean it like that, but the way it came across. Because the thing is, when you say somebody who doesn't have their language, I agree. If you lose your language, you lose a lot. You lose everything. And I always say that for those of us who were enslaved, it's almost like somebody who is adopted and they don't know who their original mother and father is. And you spend your whole life thinking about it. But on the other hand, I have to say that when we lost our original language, but in creating a hybrid language in terms of the Jamaican language, that has also strengthened us and enabled us to survive, because through the Jamaican language, everyone knows. And therefore, let me just add one last thing, because therefore, if you look, Jamaican is one thing, but in Sierra Leone, it's the Creole language. And so the Creoles, they have formalized the language to create a stable language that has its own syntax and everything. So you know, it has created a new culture for them in the same way that it created a new culture for us in Jamaica.
Okay, we are actually saying the same thing, yeah, maybe in different ways, because those who have formalized a particular language, for them to liaise with each other, to communicate with each other, that is their language at that point in time, if I'm making any sense. Because they have been deprived of their original language, yes? And then they kind of re-strategized, came up with, you know, another language that can bring everybody together. That is the language I'm talking about. Those who have formalized, you know, a particular language for them to relate with each other, to do things together, if they have been deprived of that language again, what can they do together? Nothing. Do you get what I'm saying now?
Yes.
So that's the language that I'm talking about. That is the language, because
you're saying something here so crucial, because it's almost now as if language in itself, and we're going to get to this other point where we look at codes in languages, okay? But I want to hold that for a little, because when we're talking of unity, coming together, how language binds us together. You know, I walk into Jamaica. I remember the very first play I did in England here. It was called, anyway, I forgot the name of the play, but I did it in Brixton. Now, I had just arrived in England. The only Jamaican I had, or Jamaican patois I had only heard, was Yellow Man and Bob Marley and Ainika Muze and Ika Mouse. Those are the only Jamaican patois that I knew. And I had this play to do, and I started, you know, I opened my mouth in the middle of Brixton trying to speak patois, playing a Jamaican father. The whole audience burst out laughing. because they just knew you are not a part of this thing, man. Just hold it there. So how language is so much a form of an identity. And so I will come to our Madingo man here, and maybe because I know in him talking about Mansa Musa, when Madingo people talk, Mansa Musa becomes that central figure. Of course, so the Sunjata Keita becomes such a force to rally around. Now with Madingo, do you find that many Madingo people, do you find anything about status complex, them feeling a bit less about themselves being Madingo, or do you find that as Madingo people you all have this thing? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. I was working in a school in Freetown, and I asked all the children at what was the school? American International School. And I was mixing the American International School children, who were very privileged children, with some services primary school children who were really poor, underprivileged children. I was mixing them together for a production. So I asked them all to say something in their own native languages. Now, the Lebanese children proudly said theirs, the Chinese children who were there proudly said theirs, so did the Indian children said theirs, and then came to my own African children. and I had problem. And there was one specifically, a Madingo child. When I asked her to say her own in Madingo, she was like so shy. It's like the ground was going to split open for her to go in. Beautiful girl. So pretty, dark, like ebony, shiny, dark, beautiful. This girl was so embarrassed to even admit she's Madingo. I had to give her a whole history of Mansa Musa to let her understand where the language is coming from before she buck up the confidence to speak in Madingo. So, I wonder what would be your experience in that, Mr. Sanusi?
Yeah, hello? Yeah, hello?
Yes, yeah, we're listening to you. We're hearing
you. What is the question again?
Okay, the question is confidence in the language. Confidence in the language. In terms of status, do people see themselves like many Madingo people who are in Guinea or in Senegal? French is like one of the dominant languages there. Do people see themselves like, because I don't speak French, so therefore I am a lot less?
Well, you see, the confidence comes from the parent. As a parent, one of our most important responsibilities is to teach our children our language. Because if you don't teach them, you're going to disturb that child's future. Because language is very important. You know, you can't, for instance, if your child go to school, he will definitely learn how to speak English or French or Arabic. So when they are at home with you, speak your language to them. Like for me, I was born in Bendu, in Bose district, Jama Bongo Chiefdom. So Bendu, you know, we mingle with the Mendes. But like my parents, they always speak Madingo to me, always, at home, always. So if I go out there, I learn how to speak Mende and Creole and English as well. And La mentioned one very important thing. You know, say Africa right now, we progress. We road towards prosperity. What is the obstacle right now in a language barrier? Language it hurt Africa more than any continent in the world. So one thing we will leader they really need for look at that, name them for create one language where all Africa people that they speak. Because if we say let's choose Mende, hello?
We are listening, don't worry, carry on, we're hearing you.
Okay. So if you choose any language right now in Africa, all man will say no to that. If you pick Fula, people then they say no. If you pick Mandingo, then go say no. If you pick Sabro or Yoruba, any other language you pick, others will oppose. So the best thing what will African leader they need for do, let them choose 6 persons in all Africa country, 3 male, 3 female. Let them come together, let them create one powerful language. This language, let them make a compulsory. Now, all schools in Africa, it be Guinea, they speak French, Sierra Leone, they speak English, Mauritania, they speak Arabic. So this language should be compulsory because that's why 6 people from every country, 3 male, 3 female, they should come together and create this beautiful language that we all can call African language. With this language, we can have easy business transaction, easy translation from English to this African language. With this language, we can have prosperity. But let me tell you, if we don't do that, Africa is going to continue to be behind. Look at the world today. All other countries, just like someone just mentioned that, our people are learning Chinese. You don't need to learn Chinese. Just create this language that everyone can learn how to speak. With that, Chinese too can learn our language. Other race too can learn this language. By so doing, Africa will prosper. But today, look at Sierra Leone, a small country, but we have Mende, Madingo, Timine. We have many, many languages. Language itself is good. God is the one that creates language. But the main purpose of language is to unite us together. Language is just like a fruit, or just like when you go to the restaurant, you see like cassava leaf, potato leaf, okra. So language is just like that. It's something that can It is beautiful. It's just like a race. We have black, white, Chinese, but language, today, African language, we are being divided simply because of our language. It's just a way of communication, way of to understand one another. But instead today, we choose not to understand one another. So I'm appealing to our African leaders. Please come together as leaders and create one beautiful language for all Africans that we all can learn how to speak and write. By so doing, prosperity will spread all over Africa.
Wow, that's a really important point you're raising there in terms of raising. Now, what I want to do at this particular point, Brother H, I'm coming to you next. But what I want to just tell the audience that are all our viewers at the moment, thank you very much for viewing. Thank you for taking part in this. I want to open the phone line, actually, so that those viewers who want to phone in to give your own input, please feel free to do so. I know that the phone number will be on the chat, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Look there for the telephone number. If I get it here, I will give you the telephone number as well. But phone in as well and give your view. Let this be an open discussion on the importance of language. Now, Brother H, I want to come to you to this one. Brother H just raised a very important point in terms of looking at language as a means for, of course, a way to unite us. But he's also talking about language in terms of coming together for power, for identity, for education. And he says that language is one of the major obstacles for our development in Africa. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's Ayan the First, when he speaks about being proud of his culture, being proud of his language, being proud of who we are, the way we look. All of these things, it's all interconnected. It's about having pride in who we are ourselves and knowing that we are of value and we are worth something. Language is important because it establishes a hierarchy. I remember even as a child growing up, when my parents came here, I was born 20 days after my mother reached here from Jamaica. She came here the 31st of December, and I was born the 20th of January. And I always say I can't forgive her for that. She should have me home first, made me grow up home, grow up in my culture, and then come. And then I would know who I was. But she always said, well, maybe if that had happened, I would have been suffering out there and the life would have been very different. But I said, at least I would be suffering with my own people. And that's what we have to now become proud of, who we are. Because the hierarchy we set, it's because of enslavement and because of colonialism, where we have been indoctrinated to think that our ways are not as good and not as important as the Western ways, as the white man's ways of doing things. And so we measure ourselves in relation to others instead of measuring ourselves in terms of what we are and what we can achieve for ourselves. And so I think that's part of the power that we have to take back now. We have to know that we are enough. We have to know, like you described, that beautiful black ebony young girl. She has to know that that is beautiful. It's not just the straight nose and long flowing Rapunzel locks of blonde hair that is beautiful. We have our own beauty. And so we have to recognize that and we have to value that, because if we don't, others won't.
Thank you so much. Yes, I want to say something, because that is such an important point you're making there.
I just want to buttress the point my brother H. Paten have just said now. We need to be proud of ourselves. I'll give you one example. When I went to St. James's Palace to perform for Prince Charles, I was asked to usher in him into the reception. But I said to myself, if I have just ushered him into the reception, nobody would have recognized me. Every eyes would be on him. What did I do? As soon as they open, the double doors like this, I just stopped the drumming. And we are looking at each other like this. And what did I do? I gave him the drumstick. And he asked me, what shall I do with it? And I said, Prince, you've got to play the talking drum. And he did, and he enjoyed it. Guess what? The following day, I was right in front of all national newspapers. That particular night, I was on, British TV channels. But why? What made that happen? Because I had the confidence in what I have. I believe in myself. And I believe that, okay, we have taken so much from colonial masters. It's high time, we try and, not enforce, but to canvas them, to take from us as well. So that they can give us our own respect as well. I'm just trying to...
But that's interesting. Yeah, what you're saying there is important, because I know that in Sierra Leone, when we hear Europeans speak Creole or Timini or Mende, we tend to be like, what? They're speaking Mende, come and see. And in fact, in Sierra Leone, there was one guy who went there. I don't know, it's not a Peace Corps, as one of these religious, I think Mormon or something like that. He went to Sierra Leone. After living there for a while, he learned to speak Creole very well, and then kind of called himself Creole Boy. I think that's the brand he gave himself, Creole Boy, and of course was speaking Creole. And by the time you know it, it went viral everywhere. Creole Boy was everywhere. But now, while he was out, I know one of the arguments that people faced was that, do you know how many African people that speak German, Spanish, Italian, Swedish, and many other Chinese, Japanese? You know how many African people who speak them? Where in China? Where in Spain? Where in Italy? Where in Finland? In places that they say, hey, a black man is speaking, make him viral. Let him go viral. Where? No. So, you see, so there was
anytime I go to schools for workshops, and the first, second sessions that, I always have in the morning like this, I will teach them Yoruba songs. Guess what? During the lunch time, all these children, they'll be singing this song at the during the lunch.
When I went to India, I think when I even went to India and China, I would always go there with a lot of my own, my Limba songs and so on. And when I do this story, and they're curious to learn. And I think what you both are saying here, and of course all three of you are also saying, is that as African people, the very first thing that we put down for a stamp is our language. And we must remember that during slavery, one of the main things that the Europeans did was to rid us of our language. That's one of the very major things they did. Brother H, would you maybe expand on that a little bit? Because I'm trying to get to our people here to understand that, like you said earlier, when you lose the language, losing your identity. And I remember what you said to me, Brother H, years ago, when we're talking commemorating the 200 year of the abolition of the slave trade. You asked me that question, Yusuf, do you know what it means to not know your name? And I remember how that struck me like a lightning. Mm-hmm. To not know your name. Yeah. Brother Sanusi Tarawali, as a Madingo man, he knows, as he said that name Tarawali, he knows he can trace it. Bang, 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 all the way. I say Jallo, I can trace it far away. But How many people, and pardon me for also going a little bit on this, when we talk of Creole people in Sierra Leone, Creole people, when I was doing the research for this program, I met a young man who said to me, because I was talking about my village, and he said to me, hey Yusuf, you lucky, you able to talk about your village, you get village. And I looked at him, and he says to me, I don't have a village, all I know is Freetown. And it's really struck home to me again that I can talk of a village, I can trace down to a language like that, down to roots like that. And there are people in Sierra Leone who only know Furobe or who only know Regent or Gloucester.
Yusuf.
Yes.
Can I just quickly comment to that?
Please.
Because I think Freetown, yes, might not be a village to some people, but it was a village then. But the only reason why it's not a village anymore is because it has evolved and it has grown a lot bigger than calling it a village. Again, the Frobe and the Fullerton, these were villages in the past. You have Regent, you have Gloucester, you have Leicester. These were all villages that we refer to for the Creoles, but they are not villages anymore because the inhabitants is growing so much. So I will not, because even if you take the Kono people or the Limba or the Soso, the area that they gathered, where they started their community, is where they call their village. The only difference is it's far away from the city that we call Freetown, that used to be a village for people. But for as long as it has grown to become a city, it doesn't look like a village no more. The Kenema, the Bo, the Kailong, the Pujang, they were all used to be called villages. Even Botan now, as the second city of Sierra Leone, will not be referred to as a village anymore because it is growing in modernity. So basically, the essence of the village culture that we possibly used to know when it was meant to be a village doesn't exist anymore because of the rapid development of these places. That's all I wanted to say in that particular area.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. You're right, because the places are growing. But I want to bring another interesting subject here, which we started off on earlier on, Brother H. Okay, Brother H. I want to go into tones, just tones in languages, and how much and how important that is. I mean, I've got a list of so many things for us here to cover. We barely got half an hour more till the end of the program. Brother H.
But sorry, just before you move on to that, I just wanted to answer your question very quickly, if I can do. Because when you talk about the loss of a language, we're talking about the loss of a people, the loss of a nation, the loss of an identity. So although, I'm trying to bring the positives from all sides here. With me, one of my first solo productions, it was called Inner the Wilderness, because I recognize as a Jamaican, I was born 20 days after my mother came to this country, came to the UK. So therefore, I know growing up in the UK, I know what I went through. I know the racism and thing that I had growing up as a youth, having to run away from skinheads and thing, rattling chains and throwing bottles after us. And they would come in groups of 10 or more when there's only one or two of you. So I know that I grew up with that. So I know, although that's why growing up, this idea of being Black British, we rejected that because we said there's no such thing as Black British because we didn't feel the British part at all. And so I know that I had a bunch of keys for Britain, but it wasn't a full bunch. It's only half of the doors that are open to us. Many doors that are even open now to some of our children wasn't open to us. But even our children who have many more doors open than we did, it's not all doors that are open. When I go home to Jamaica, then in Jamaica, I would feel at home, but I remember when they had a problem there, they raised the price of gas and people start to block the roads and things, and there was unrest. My aunt said, well, you better come go home to England in case anything happened to you. And I said, no, if something to happen to me, it should be here in Jamaica, I'm at home. But then when I go to and when I'm home as well, people will listen to me and say, "But you don't sound like you grew up in England. You sound like if you grew up in Jamaica and you go and study and come back." And then when I go to Africa, it's the same thing. I will feel at home. I will feel like if this is my home. I see people who look like me. I see my uncle. I see my auntie. I've seen them from Ghana, Sierra Leone, right through to Malawi. I've seen my family. But then there's a time when I know this isn't fully home for me, because I will be in a crowd. If it's in a crowd where you have Mandinka people speaking, they say something and everybody laugh, and I say, what is it? What is it? I have to ask, what is it? And somebody give me a one-line translation, and I know that laugh wasn't from one line.
Okay.
There was a whole meaning that's lost to me. And so therefore, I'm in the wilderness because I've lost that. But then I also think, one other thing, though, just to connect it back to Sierra Leone, was just joined. This was in 2003, I think it was. I met a young man who had come from Upline in Freetown, and he said to me, "You know, I will never go home again. I will never put foot back home again." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I've lost my whole family. During the war, I lost my mother, father, brother, sister, uncle, auntie, grandparents, everybody. So I will never go back there again." And I said to myself, we have lost that root ideologically in our heads in terms of tracing our lineage. But now he has lost it physically. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we retain home when home has been removed from us?
Whew, that's a really pertinent question there, and because I would think I would bring this, I'll transfer this question over to brothers Mohammed Sanusi, because I know he's about to go. Because Mr. Sanusi, what you are doing at the moment in teaching a lot of the children here, a lot of people here, Madingo, could that be a way of bringing home back to those whom have lost home? Mr. Sanusi, yes. Hopefully that will be your last input, because I know you have to go very soon.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, yes, I can say yes, because for the past 1 year, we have transformed. We have helped many people, that today they can proudly able to introduce themselves in Madingo as language. One of the most important is for you to be able to introduce yourself. Like if you travel from Sierra Leone to Guinea, nobody don't know you. The first thing they will ask you, or if you want to use bathroom, the first thing you say to the person, you have to greet the person. If it is in the morning time, you will say Isoma. So today, I would like all of us here today, we need to learn this, Isoma. So Isoma is E, E as E, then Soma, S-O-R-M-A. So Isoma is good morning. So when you say Isoma, then from there, a person will say Tamasi. So by so doing, there is a connection, Even if the person is Soso or Fula or whosoever, for the fact that you say hello to the person, there is a connection. But if you don't know any language, how are you going to connect yourself with the person? You're going to be in a predicament. So language is very important. Just like you said, our Madingo brother and sister that live in abroad, in the Europe, America, Middle East. Unfortunately, most of us, we don't speak Madingo to our children. So with this Mandingo Global, we are helping those children learn how to speak Madingo. And today, most of them, they are learning how to speak Madingo because we break it down to the lowest level. that each and everyone can understand. So if you want to join us, our number is 001, that's American code, 857-492-8651.
If you have a website, if you have a website, send the website to Chief Mufasa or King Mufasa, and he will put it up on the chat so that people can see your website and your telephone number, so people can contact.
You can type it in chat box as well.
Okay, definitely we'll do that. So everyone is joined, it's free. So, and our teacher, they are very happy to teach you until you understand. And everyone is welcome. Everyone.
Do you teach online as well? Do you do online classes?
No, for now we don't do online.
Okay.
But the way the class goes every Thursday, every Thursday, if you have time, and we can teach one-to-one too. For you to understand, we can teach you one-to-one.
Thank you.
Okay, so for now, it's mostly going to be in the geographical area in terms of America where you are. That's where it's mostly going to be.
No, for now, everywhere in the world. Like for now, we're doing our class through WhatsApp.
Okay, through WhatsApp.
Yes,
that's what I mean.
That's online. That's online.
Yes, we can. For now, we are doing it through WhatsApp.
Okay.
So
all right.
Yeah. Okay. And sometimes through our Facebook, Monday Global Facebook. So go online. You can call and ask questions. So it's very easy. So I will encourage everyone to join us and learn your language. It's very important, and it's very important to learn a second language. You don't have to say, oh, like me, my great-great-grandfather is a Fula from my mother's side. And my great-great-great-grandmother again, from my mother's side, is Mende. So you see, Africa, if you look at Africa, we are one people. So it's good for us to learn different language and know our language, just like you said. If you know your language, you can be very proud of yourself because language makes you who you are. How can you say to someone, oh, you are Madingo, but you don't know how to speak Madingo? You are a Fula, you don't know how to speak Fula. Or you are from Africa, but you cannot boast of to speak any African language. So, it's very important.
Thank you very much. I think what you've just said there, Mr. Sanusi, is very, very important. So I hope people were listening. The importance of learning our languages. I know for me, it was bayang. I had to, whenever I go off country to learn my language, it was proper bayang, but I had to learn Limba. I couldn't learn the Fula, unfortunately, but I had to do my best to learn the Limba. And thank goodness that I learned some Limba. I do not know Limba as well as I probably should, but I know I can navigate my way in Limba if I am found.
I think they say we have a caller.
Yes, we have a caller. I want to take a caller right now. Mr. Morrison, so if you still want to stay around, you can. If you wish to go, of course, I know you're gonna have to go. But I know we have a caller right now. Please let's listen to the caller. Please let's hear the caller. Please introduce yourself and where you're coming from.
Boy Jalo Jamboria calling from Norway.
Greetings to you. Greetings to you, Elder Jalo Jamboria.
I've been listening for the last 15 or 20 minutes. I think you guys are limiting the relevance of language to the last 200 years. The problem of language in the African context has to go back 4,000 years because Africa is the continent that has suffered the most Holocaust. Language as it is not only a medium of communication, it is also an expression of who you are, your being, the I am in you, what you think, how you use the energy in you, the life, the force of life, how it expresses itself, comes into the physical expression as language. And it is not only limited to words, but there are also body language, there are other signs that you use to communicate the I am in you. You see, the whole process of colonization of the African, which goes 4,000 years through several regimes of slavery, starting with the Arab slave trade across the Sahara onto Arabia and into Europe has destroyed a lot of things about the African. So even when we discuss some of these issues today, we tend to be a little bit lost at what we say. What I would say is that the language of a person, irrespective of where the person is located on earth, is the mark of his identity. It also expresses the inner man in the person, telling the world what he believes and how he thinks he exists. So if Africa, like you have been discussing, has to go back and get a grip on the roots of what we are, we may not need to go and begin to teach our languages, maybe, or define a new language. We need to research and find out how many languages actually are in existence in Africa. We look at the similarities in the languages, then we can begin to see how we can come up with something that will create a universal African language. But before we do that, it will be best, in the best interest of Africa, to begin to teach in the native language of the learner in our schools, in the location they go to school. If a child is born in Igbo land, let that child go to kindergarten and primary school and learn in Igbo. Use that Igbo language to teach English or French or whatever other language you want to teach the child, be it Madingo or otherwise. Because the native language or the mother tongue of the child is easy to understand the concept you want to teach the child. Because that's the real person. That's the inner man. And so when you use the mother tongue, the child understands faster, and it's easy for the child to understand any other thing that you teach. Secondly, if we are to come to grips with our confusion, I would say confusion that we find ourselves now, we need to follow the Scandinavian model. In Scandinavia, the government encourages every national to teach their children their language. I have a son born in Norway. He speaks Creole because we speak Creole to him. And he's learning Timni and other languages. If I cannot do that, the state can provide somebody. They pay the person to do that. And I think African governments have to do the same to get serious about teaching and improving on the human resource that we have, using our local languages, and where necessary, making the necessary inputs. Because when the person gets that inner knowledge of who he is, then the identity comes out naturally. And with the identity comes other facts, your culture, your scientific capacity, etc., etc. Most of us in Africa will not go to science classes because it is taught in a language that looks like gibberish to us. So whatever the teacher is trying to explain, which he may not even understand properly because he himself went through the same process of wrong culturalization, we don't understand. So I think this is the direction you people should be looking at. Yes, the last 200 years, everything had changed because we were deculturalized. Then they came with religion to colonize our minds. They came with education to colonize our minds, making us believe that you cannot understand Pythagoras if you don't teach it in English or read it in English. But the Chinese are doing the same in Mandarin. Are they not going to be world power soon? I'll stop there for now, sir.
Wow, thank you so very much for that very very important contribution there. Please don't go off the line yet unless if we have another caller in. But please don't go off here, because I'd like you to hear the reaction from Brother H on this particular topic.
Well, I think he made some very crucial and important points. Because I think when we look at many young people here in Britain who come from African backgrounds, who come from Caribbean backgrounds, sometimes they cannot even tell you the name of the village that their parents come from, much less to speak the language. And that does them a disservice, because for us, I remember, even for myself, growing up, we used the Jamaican language as a way to secure ourselves when we felt vulnerable. So even in school, at times, when there's something that you couldn't understand, you could talk to somebody else, another classmate, using the Jamaican language, who can explain it to you in a different way, because what people will make provisions for a French speaker who comes into England now and doesn't understand everything. So they make allowance for them and maybe slow down and go over the lesson again for them. If it's a German child or a child from any European country, but very often when it's a child that comes from an African background or Caribbean background, nobody makes any concession for them.
Yes.
And so these children are struggling, but nobody's helping them. But as you say, if they learn their mother tongue from home, that gives them something that makes them secure and gives them confidence. So now as they learn the English, because they will automatically pick up the English because English is spoken all around them, they will then know, now I've got two languages, so that if I don't understand it in the English, I can translate it back into my own language and then retranslate it back into the English, because I now understand it from my own perspective. So I think that's an important thing, important point that has been made there.
Thank you. We have another caller on the line. But just so to buttress that point, is for the listeners, is just to understand, what Jallo Jambore has just said, and what Brother H has also just said, is the importance of what I've been talking about for many years now, for us to learn within the context of our culture. It's something which I've been talking about for the past 10 years. Learning within the culture, or within our cultural context, is incredibly important. If we consider that most of the countries that are teaching in their own native languages are all advancing, they are all progressing, they're getting on with life. Most of the countries, if not all of the countries, teaching in a foreign language to their own native tongue, they are most likely either stagnated or they are regressing, not going forward at all, really struggling. But let me take the other caller that is on. A caller, please say your name and where you're calling from.
Nadia Madi from London.
Thank you, Madam Nadia. Nice to hear you. Thank you for calling. What's your contribution?
Okay, so I'm going to have to disagree with the whole create a new language kind of thing. If people can't even respect and learn the languages they have now, how are we creating a new language? I think the bottom line is this whole back and forth thing, we need to recognize where we are now, because sometimes we get a little bit too idealistic, and we still think of this utopian thing that's going to happen if we all just get together and, say a prayer or whatever, or do this or do that. We need to be realistic, right? There are hundreds of different languages within Africa. The point of where we all speak to each other whether people want to acknowledge it or not, is through the French, the English, the Portuguese, and the Spanish. That's where we are. If I want to speak to somebody in the Gambia, I'm speaking English to them, right? If I want to speak to somebody in Senegal, I'm speaking French to them. Now, what's the crossover language for that? If I'm living in Sierra Leone and somebody's living in Senegal or Gambia, if I don't want to speak French to them, we will speak Wolof or we'll speak one of the other languages, okay? But here's the deal. We don't speak Wolof in Sierra Leone, so we cannot use Wolof as a crossover. We can only use the French as a crossover because what the schools in Africa are doing are teaching you English and French. So here's the deal. First thing is, people need to take responsibility. If you can't be bothered to teach your children your own native language, then there is a problem. The problem doesn't lie with everybody else, it lies with you. Secondly, in schools in Africa, English and French is what they teach as a predominant, okay? They don't teach indigenous languages. And I'm talking about mainly, I'm coming from Sierra Leone, so I know that obviously somewhere like Tanzania, they are now teaching them in their native language. They don't teach them mainly English anymore. Some countries are doing that and some countries are not doing that. But the point is that, yes, either we start to teach, we start to recognize certain languages that are crossovers. So if I want to go and work in Nigeria, yes, I will speak English and everybody in Nigeria speaks English. But perhaps if I'm setting my sights on learning a crossover language, I would learn Igbo or Yoruba. If I'm setting my sights on learning a crossover language, I would learn Wolof. If I'm setting my sights on learning a crossover language, I would learn Swahili. And children need to choose these languages in certain schools and maybe at that point, learn them. So you're not just learning French and English within Africa, you are also learning a crossover language. Plus, if you'll have your own language or not. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, as Africans, how many languages do different people know? They know quite a lot. I was sent to a Saturday school. I'm of Creole background. I was sent to a Saturday school to learn Mende, right? To this day, I don't remember anything, but I can count to 10 in Mende. And then the other point is that language and culture is intrinsic. So we're talking about languages as if they're separate. They're not separate. Because perhaps if I had learned about the Mendes, I would probably know more and understand more about the language and more of it so that I can emotionally connect to that language. And therefore I would probably have retained more things. So if somebody is learning a crossover language, they need to learn the culture and the emotional aspect of those people, right? And that doesn't just have to happen in Africa. It can happen everywhere to say, what crossover language are you going to learn? Let's face it, if I've always liked Latin America all my life and I think I want to go live in Colombia, I'll go and learn the Spanish at the English, I'll go and learn Spanish to go there. So if people who are living in Africa at this point in time, who have recognized that there are opportunities across the continent, might think, you know what, I want to live in South Africa. I'll learn that language. I want to live in Nigeria, or I've always been interested in Mali. I'm going to learn that one of their languages. That's what needs to happen. We have universal languages in West Africa. Pidgin English, as much as people don't want to hear it, Pidgin English and Creole, everybody kind of understands it. All the English-speaking West African countries, they kind of understand Pidgin English and Creole to the point where the BBC has now created a division. So there are universal languages. Well, we have to recognize what is already there, and there is a hell of a lot. Now it's about deciphering.
Okay, I would also ask here, because you just said that teaching English and a lot of people or everybody understands, if I hear you correctly saying that. I know growing up in Sierra Leone how much I struggled with English language. I think one of the previous caller talked, was it the previous caller or Dr. H. Paten talked about when they teach you chemistry in English. I know how confused I was learning chemistry in English or what, even English literature. There were many things I was confused about, not to talk now of the Shakespeare and learning that. And it is a struggle for many young people, if not every one of us, one way or the other. I mean, I would agree with you also about the transitional languages, because and we must know this, however, at the same time, that almost every African living in Africa, almost every one of us, we are bilingual. Almost every one of us bilingual. There's no African that does not speak more than 2 languages, or at least 2 languages. Now, so I agree with you in saying that we need to have what I will call functional languages. And I think English is that one. French is probably that one. But I think the issue we're having here, and what is bringing this up, is that we are looking at, we are using functional languages that, shall I say, functional language in spite of our own languages, which carry our identity and our culture. And you have just rightfully said that you cannot divide the culture from the language. So if we continue with French and English, I heard one professor said once, he says, we're going to end up in a continent with 2,000 different languages being spoken, with huge population. And we do not have a language that we can all say, this is our own common language that we teach with, that we give instructions with, and administer politics and everything with. We don't have that at all. So if we continue like that, we're more or less going to be in a position where we're going to say, well, forget Limba, forget Timini, forget all of these languages. You and I know, for those of us, I do not know what is the same thing in Jamaica, where if you go to school and you speak patois in school, you get punished. I know Prince of Wales, if you do that, if you speak Creole or any of your native language in school, you'll get punished. I don't know if Ayan is there, whether it's the same in Nigeria.
I'm there.
You're there.
Where?
Please don't go, Nadia. Please stay on the line until we get another call. Maybe you can respond to Ayan. Ayan, please respond to that.
Well, that was what the problem that we faced when we were in secondary school, and the teacher used to write on top of the blackboard that no vernacular speaking today. So, or vernacular speaking is totally prohibited. So since then, many of our people have believed that our native languages are not good enough. So we should only speak English language. But like the lady just said now, we just need to find ways, or find a way around it. Because I believe our culture is our identity, and like I said earlier on, once the language is being taken off anybody, that person can do little, or that person might not know anything about his culture unless it has to be re-strategized again or come up with another idea. So now, what I've done with some Yoruba people, in our community, is we have established about 5 Yoruba, classes at different boroughs, where our children can be going there every week to learn their, mother tongue. And it has been really, really, working well, because many of our Nigerian or British-born children, they're now speaking Yoruba language. They're now speaking, and these things the same thing can, be done to other languages, be it Mandigo, maybe Mende or any other, or Fula or something like that. So we just need to impact our children, the younger ones, with our language, with our culture, because that they are our future.
So I want to ask a question here. I want to ask a question. I can ask a question here, which Nadia just raised up on the line there. I want to ask this. But Nadia talked about 2 things, which Mr. Jamboria also mentioned, about teaching our languages, whether in schools. Mr. Jamboria talked about instructing with for example, in terms of the education, but instructing children in the languages of their own native area. So if you go to Limba, to the Kamakri and so on, Limba is the dominant language. We teach in Limba, and the Mende areas and so on and so forth. So he's talked about that. But Nadia also has just said as well that, look, if you want to learn some of these languages, then let the parents get onto it and get on with teaching the children their own native languages at home. And in terms of the instructive business languages, those ones can either be done in schools, and we could choose different languages. Neither, if I'm right, tell me this, but from what I understand, that, for example, we can look at across Africa.
I'm thinking, I just want to say that I think that we need to divide this up, because for some of this is a problem of, let's say, for example, second generation Africans living in England. And that's a different problem for people who are actually living on the continent. It's a different dynamic. And then, of course, you have people from the Caribbean and Black America, which is a different dynamic in terms of, let's say, for example, in the diaspora, you're going to have Saturday schools, because you might have somebody who's second generation Nigerian that just didn't even bother to maybe they can understand the Yoruba, but they don't care to speak it, and they really don't care. And then when they have their children, they suddenly decide, oh my God, maybe I should have done that. Now they are in the same compartment as somebody who's from the Caribbean or somebody who's Black American. So that is a different factor in terms of, you're going to have the Saturday schools. You're going to have these things where it is important that it's there and it's available, it's accessible, and so therefore people can go. So, for example, places like the Africa Center now, they're doing all of these language classes, and there's, as you say, you guys are doing language classes. That people on the continent already have the language, but it has not been valued by the educational establishment. But we also need to be real with it, okay? Because if I'm learning my own language, who is going to give me a job at the end of the day? If I'm trying to go to university and they're teaching everything in English, I'm going to struggle. So we need to decipher in terms of, all right, you got the French speaking and the English speaking. Okay, right, you learned that. But Yusuf, it's a valid point, when you're trying to learn, if you're on the continent, you're trying to learn chemistry and physics and all of this, it would be wonderful if they actually did have those classes in native languages, to help and assist children who don't come from families where they're speaking English at home, or they're giving them books. They will be able to probably move faster. But what I'm also suggesting is, and I'm hoping that this does not lead to a kind of, it will always lead to kind of, oh, this language is more important than that. But the problem is with that is that, when people have their own language in Africa, you're not talking about 5 people, you're talking about thousands of people. So even when it's a small language, it's thousands and thousands of people. We need to recognize our own functional languages apart from English and French, which is where the Yoruba comes in, which is where the Wolof comes in, which is where the Swahili comes in, those languages now, because you know what you do? You know what you do when you validate those languages is every school on the continent decided, let's do 10 or 5, right? You blow those languages up, because this is how English and French got blown up. Because when you know that you can go to any of those countries,
you're right. You're right. You're right. But there's an adage that says charity begins at home. The first problem that we have with Africans, the first problem we have in diaspora is we barely speak our dialect, our native language to our children. Now, Yoruba people, like I said to you, that we have 5, classes, in different boroughs right now. Eventually, it will maximize to like 10 classes, 20 classes, and before you know it, once we have that established, we can now make a proposal to each local, government that, okay, you know what? So we are proposing this language because our children, we want them to be learning, about, our language, to be learning our language as well. But if you as a parent, you do not impact your children with your culture, you don't speak your own language to your children. So how can you now make a proposal to any government that, okay, yeah, can you formalize or, nationalize this language?
Which government? Are you saying the English government and the American government to make a proposal for them to teach African language in school? Or are you talking about the African government to propose to them to teach African language in school?
I don't know which one you're talking about. Maybe you are talking about British government or back home in Africa.
No, it's not I don't believe that
in Africa.
I'm talking back home. I don't believe that it is the British government's business.
Another good news. Another good news for all Yoruba people is in Yoruba, states in Nigeria, especially it started from Lagos. They have now, because when I was in secondary school, we used to learn Yoruba language. But before you knew it, the government took Yoruba out of, syllabus, and there was no Yoruba language at all. Now they've now brought it back, to this syllabus now. So children are now being compelled, to learn Yoruba language in schools.
Hello?
So
yes, let me, Ayan, brother, yes, I was just trying to see if I can get you in, Mr. Jamboria.
Yes, I think
I want to say, hold on, Mr. Jamboria, hold on. Mr. Jamboria, hold on 1 second. I just want to go to H quickly, Dr. H. I know because I've gone over the time for him, and I need to just see if I can probably get his last word in for him too, because I was going to close the show in about 10 minutes. But let me just get, I don't know if, Dr. H, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't know how much time you have to be with us, but if you don't have much time, I might as well just let you have your own word in before you close, before you go.
Well, actually, I think maybe let's allow the brother to speak first, because he's been holding on a long time.
Yes.
And then maybe he'll say something that I need to.
Okay, yes. Mr. Jamboria. Yes.
Yeah. I think there has been a misunderstanding here of the function and the role of language. Nadia is talking about using a language as a means of communication. We have to look at language as the instrument that allows somebody to understand and build concepts. These concepts are what you use to get a job, to be productive, etc., in life. Using language as a means of instruction in the primary school, in the kindergarten, as far as scientific evidences show, fastens the rate of learning of the learner. In fact, UNESCO in 1955 had agreed universally that the use of mother tongue is important in education. There are countries in Asia who have implemented this and they have succeeded. Senegal in Africa, because they had the first African who was UNESCO Director General, Amadou Matambo, a Fulani Senegalese, has implemented this. Kindergarten and primary school, they use Wolof and other languages to teach, whilst they teach French. In Sierra Leone, we can use the other languages to teach, whilst we teach English as a language. The child learns English as a subject and understands it better when the language is taught in his own mother tongue. For example, there was a teacher in Sierra Leone in the 60s who people laughed at. He was using Timni to teach English. He would say to the children, "Otten konomatela dog." People laughed, but he was very correct because there was a transfer of concept. There was a transfer of understanding, which made it easier for the child. Where people in Africa build bridges using rope and sticks, which are suspension bridges. They are there. These are engineers, like any other engineer anywhere in the world. But because we have not developed those technologies, because we have failed to use a language that will see that the educational or cultural side of us has technology, that's one of the reasons why Africa is limited in development. So let us get it clear. Me talking to you, I speak over 5 languages. I speak 3 international languages. I speak French, I speak English. Je parle français très bien. I speak French, I speak English, and I speak Norwegian. I snack and and I've been a teacher in Norway, teaching in the Norwegian language. So the use of language as a communication tool is different from using language to develop the human resource. And as far as I know, as an educationist, because I'm a professional teacher, if we use our mother tongue to teach in kindergarten and primary, which are the stages that are very important in concept formation in the child, Africa will produce more scientists and technicians, and Africa will develop. I'll end for today's one.
Wow, thank you very much. Brother H, do you have any response to that?
Well, I think the brother has made some very valid points. But I think also what we have to realize is in the age that we're living in now, I don't think we have the luxury of either or. It's and plus. So it means that we need to be doing both. We need to be teaching children their mother tongues so that they have that confidence, and they need to be learning the international languages as well so that they can operate on the world stage. But also we need to know that that in terms of the respect, at one point when in this country, when they talk about Chinese, they used to make slurring remarks about Chinese, about the eyes and so forth. But now you have people learning Mandarin and learning the Chinese and Japanese, Asian languages, because those people have come up and they've respected their own culture, and they've developed their own markets. They've developed within the markets that the West needs as well, and they are spreading all over the globe. And so people now have to take them seriously. What we have to recognize is that Africa, as a population, has a young population that is coming up. We have one of the youngest populations in the world. Other parts of the world, like Europe, for instance, it has an aged population. And so people are getting worried about who are the young people who are going to be working, building, paying the taxes for the pensions for the future when this aged community gets to the point where they need to be looked after. In Africa, we have a young population. And on top of that, we have those who are in the diaspora now recognizing that they have something to contribute back home. And so therefore, Africa has to get prepared to welcome them back and accept them back and to give them the strength of to give them the tools through which they will be able to communicate with each other, for each other, and also be able to communicate with an international market at the same time, but where necessary, be able to talk to ourselves in our own language so that we can plan and strategize like everybody else.
I think, Brother H and Mr. Jambora, you two have just raised a very important point here that the Chinese have done it successfully, Malaysians have done it successfully, where if you go to any of these countries, into India, you go all around, you will find them speaking their Urdu, their Punjab, their Hindi, you find them all communicating with it. But when it comes to them trading and doing other business with other people, they will switch over to the English when they need to. In fact, if they have certain people that would need to be taught English or taught French, if that's what they need to learn, then they kind of go there to use those languages in that respect. But there's that other part of where language itself becomes a sense of unity for us. Because one of the areas which we didn't even have chance to go into is the area of language as codes. Mr. Jamboria earlier on talked about the different ways we communicate. And I think that's a very important area which we've not had time to go into very much. And I think we were going to go into it, but of course time is beating us now. We barely have 5 more minutes for us to wrap up. But just briefly on that is that there are many different ways we communicate. And we have to, I think, figure out how we use a language that will say this is for us, and how we use a language that will say, okay, this is for everybody else that comes in that we are now going to relate to. Are we going to leave it with the government to make this decision so that they teach this in schools, or is the family, as Ayan the First is saying, is how much role does the family have to play in having these languages? Or is it a two kind of situation where we have language that will say this is the language to embellish culture, to embellish the social culture, to enforce the traditional indigenous culture, and language as we say, this language you need to learn it specifically for trade and for businesses and so on. And how do we negotiate all of this? How do we take pride in these languages is also very, very important. But I'll close. I'll give a close later on. I said that it's time is running out on us now. So with that, I want to just give my guests quickly, just to for you guys just to give your final remarks in closing. Again, I know this is a long topic. We will not be able to finish all today. At later episodes, we'll probably come back to languages again and look at it from other different angles. But let me call you Ayan the First. What's your own closing remarks to everybody?
Thank you very much for having us on this show. My closing remarks is we need to impact our children, the younger ones, with our culture and language as early as 5 to 7 years old. It was like me. I started drumming with my uncles and dad when I was, age 5, and it has become part of me. So if it can do the same thing with our, younger ones, right from the age 5, 7, or 10. So then, as they are growing up, it will become part of them, and they will find it easy, So that's my closing remarks. So thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thank you. It's been such a great pleasure to have you, Ayan the First. And this is not going to be the last one, because we have other episodes that's going to be dealing with music and so on. And so we're going to be dealing with all of this. And there's going to be much more masquerades and all those things. And all of this will tie in with language as well. All this will link together. So thank you so much for being here with us. I appreciate you and love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Brother H, what will be your own closing remarks, please?
Okay, well, I think Brother Ayan the First, he has summed it up nicely. But what I would add to that is that I don't believe we need to wait till 5. I think start from the child is born in the house, use our own languages in the house, because the English and the international languages, they'll learn when they get to school. And they'll be able to catch it up quickly. So we need them to learn, because through language we learn the codes and the keys that are part of our culture. And it's important because, as Brother Yusufu has said, maybe next time you can touch upon it in language. You'll touch upon even the way in which women used to braid the hair and plait the hair, to send codes, draw maps in the head through the way the hair is done. When in the Caribbean, some of the dances, when they dance and they use the madras cloth and they tie it, if it hangs one way, it means that the woman is single. If it goes the other way, it means she's married. And so these codes have to be learned. And so language is more than just the words we speak. It's part of the culture, and we have to make sure that our children know these codes, because when time comes, there'll be another time when we need to speak to each other. It's not everybody, as we say, I know everything good for eat, good for talk. All that is good to eat is good to talk. So we can communicate amongst ourselves. And remember also that, as I said, we have a young population coming. Remember the story of Kalimbe, where the mother used to go out and she had her own child, and she had the stepchild. The stepchild had one foot that was withered. So when she go out, she don't love that child so much. She leave that child outside, unprotected, and she protect her child in the house. And one day, Temarima, it's like a big vulture bird come down, and when he come to eat the one with the withered foot who left outside, and the little boy said to him, Temarima, the best one there are yard. The best one is inside. So Timarima asked, he said, Abi, and Aba, then where she put the key. Abi, and Aba, then where she put the key. And the child said, Timarima, oh, the key they attach. Timarima, oh, the key they attach. And Timarima go to the thatch roof, take out the key, open the door, and there was the child who is supposed to be the perfect one. But this child, because they've always been protected, didn't even know that they should run and hide. Timarima swooped down, grabbed that child, and take them away. When the mother come, she said that her child has gone, the one that was perfect. So who she had to turn to now? She turned to the one that she saw as imperfect, the one that she didn't love so much because he had the withered leg. And that one is the one that looked after her into her old age and made sure she was well cared for. The stone that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. We will be the head cornerstone at some point. And so we have to be prepared for that. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. You know, where the key they attach. We've got one more caller now. I know you've wrapped up and you don't necessarily have to respond anymore at all. And if you do have to go, then you have to go. But there is a caller that is just calling. This show sometimes goes like this, where you have callers that call in like this. But please, let me get the caller and let's hear what's your name and make your contribution, please.
My name is Ishmael Kalon. I live in London. I am so passionate about this language and culture. It's just to let you know that before I start. I'm a Madingo man from Sierra Leone, and Sekou Touré was a very proud man, and everybody knows about Sekou Touré. He started learning Madingo in school. All the schools in Guinea, they were learning Madingos, and people criticized him for that. They said he has made people not to develop because they were not teaching French in school, so he was doing that. So they criticized him for that. So these are the reasons why Africa always go back. When we try to do our own thing, people don't value our own culture. They value other people's culture. So that's the reason why we don't develop. Some people were saying about the Chinese and even the Thai. they are proud of their language and their culture. That's the reason why they are excelling more than us. But we've started realizing this now. So Madingo, they got their own alphabet, which is called Nko. So if anybody want to know about Nko, they can go Google and they will Google it and they will see. There was a guy who developed this called Solomon Kante. And even the Quran, they translate it now into Madingo. They even pray in Madingo as well. So, and they've got schools all over, even in Gambia and Guinea, where they teach Madingo language into their own alphabet. Other languages, they have English alphabet or French alphabet, but the Madingo and the Ko, they've got their own alphabet where they teach people, and it's really excelling. So it's just for people to know, because we are here to kind of promote our culture. It's for people to know that Madingos are doing well in that field.
Wow. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate that this call in, because it's such a positive call for us to hear that we are gradually making strides. I mean, this takes me to, I guess, what we were talking about earlier on when Mr. Jamboria called and when Nadia called. It raises the question of literacy. What do we mean by literacy? Our people, African people, are they illiterate? What do we mean by that? Maybe this is another discussion for another day. Are our people illiterate? You see, we tend to look at our people and say, because they are illiterate, there are too many illiterate people in Africa there, and we use this word so much. And it's something which I'd love to examine at some point when we're going to be looking at languages for another episode. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your contribution, and I'm sure we'll look out for the Madingo alphabet as well. I know the Fula people also have theirs too. Maybe we need to develop something, because we've got Africans who are linguists, we've got Black people who are linguists. Maybe there's something, programs like this hopefully will trigger people to begin to figure out a way out of this, because the solutions are going to come from multiple angles, and language, our way of communicating, is going to be probably one of the primary, or if not the core area where we're going to look for solution to solving Africa's challenges that we are facing. Okay. Well, I want to pass on to thank you very much to my guests. I don't have much.
Dr. H, want to say something quickly?
Yes, I want to pass it over to you, actually.
No, Dr. H, want to say something?
Oh, Dr. H, want to say something? Okay, all right.
So I didn't get the chance to just say thank you all for the wonderful work that you are doing. And remember, I think even this program is part of our storytelling heritage. And it's part of our language and understanding our language. And Cowfoot Prince get that name because he's a storyteller. And so each one teach one. So parents, start teaching your children, share your stories in your language, because nothing not sweet like when you hear it in your own language. By the time it translates, it gets watered out, and it's like juice that has been watered. So give them the stories in your own language, and then those who hear the stories, if your friend don't have somebody to get a story from, you share the story with them, and by each one teaching one, we will all get to know more as well. So thank you, Bra Yusufu and King Mufasa. All of you, you're doing a wonderful job. Continue with it. Thank you. And Brother Ayan the first. You say,
thank you so much, my brother.
You say Ayan the great, but Ayan the first, you're great as well. So thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Thank you so much. I'll get a number from Mr. Yusuf. Yeah,
I will. I will pass it over to you. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and thank you very much. And so over to you, King Mufasa.
Well, I don't know where to start, because already enough knowledge has been passed on to us this evening, and I think it is a pleasure for us to be here for me to grab all those knowledge from Dr. H and Ayan the first, and also from the callers them. And I think, say, what you don't learn so far tonight is great. And I am very much concerned and passionate about the fact that we're talking about language. And one of the reasons for that passion and the fact, say, over the years, I've been making noises about going back home to retire within the next couple of years. But people don't understand what I mean by saying I'm going back home to retire. They thought Freetown is where my retirement is going to be. And I'm saying, no, Freetown is the city that has been developed that is no more going to be called a village. And the village I know is not a village that everybody will say is a village that you can go and live. When Kono, not just Kono, Koidu, but the interior of Kono, when I'm in village Kangama. Now, let me just say the reason why I decided to do that as a plan. Because I think, just like we were talking about language and how we can educate ourselves in language, is the fact that when I go to Kangama, I don't speak the language myself, but I have people around me who can speak the language. So basically, I teach them what I know, and that subject, be it media, filmmaking, graphics, or anything, will be interpreted in the Kono language for the locals to be able to learn. So I am actually looking at creating an establishment of educational center, which will have a lot of influential stuff that you can learn, from graphics to media production to film to taking pictures and possibly arts and crafts and carpentry and welding and so on and so forth. But it will all be done in the local language, which is Kono. So when people listen to what I'm saying, that I'm going back home to retire in a couple of years' time, and they're thinking I'm going to Freetown, and I'm saying to them, no, Freetown is not my retirement destination, they laugh. But they don't understand the concept of what made me think I am going back to the village to create an establishment so we can decentralize everything that happens in Sierra Leone, and people will be able to learn skills in their own local language, not just in English. So basically, that's one of the reasons why. And I'm very proud that it has been mentioned and highlighted here today in so many different ways, so people can understand. Again, if anybody is out there that wants to go and do anything in terms of bringing in the culture of what you have learned, there's nothing wrong with that. But also bear in mind that your culture is very much important, and your language is one that you should learn. It's unfortunate some of us cannot speak our language very well, maybe even half and half, but at least we have tried as much as possible as we can to embrace the other side of the culture, even if it's not the language that we don't really speak that much. But the disadvantage of that is great. But for as long as you can adapt to the other issues that related to your culture, which language is the key part of, you will be still able to adapt and get to know the language a bit more. So definitely, I would like to extend my thanks and appreciation to the guests that we have for tonight's show. And I will be honored to be the King Mufasa on this platform, just to learn and learn and learn. As you clearly know, I changed my name to King Mufasa because we want to replicate the fact that we are Africans and we should be proud of what names were given to us when we were born. My traditional name is Tamba T-Boy, which means the second child. So in my tribe, everything that you call or you say or you name has a meaning, and the meaning is very significant. So if I'm called T-Boy and somebody knows that I am from the Kono tribe, they will not even ask question. Automatically, they will know I am the second born. And just imagine, the first child of our tribe is called Sa. That is a knighthood. And actually, when my son gave birth to a son, and I asked him, how are you going to name your son? Oh, Sa. But I would not like him to be called Sa in school. I'm like, why? Your child is going to be knighted in school because they're going to be calling him Sa. And he understood exactly what I meant by saying that. And he said, yes, Dad, that's true. I think I will put that name in the middle of his name so he will be called Sa Karim Duba. It means uniting the name, because Sa means the firstborn of my tribe. So if you are naming your son Sa in school, everybody will be thinking, why are you called Sa? And they will not understand the concept until he says so. So these are the values of what we have from Africa, but sometimes we take all these things for granted because we think it is rubbish, it doesn't make sense, or we are taking our people backwards, we're learning our language and we shouldn't. But every child should be able to be proud of their heritage and should be able to say to anybody else that I am from here, there, and I can speak that language. I know there are few more controversies in terms of being enslaved by Dr. H, but I can understand that concept that identities have been lost and identities have been recreated, to so to speak, about the Caribbean island. Yes, there are some amount of that lost identity, but when you trace the root back to where those identities came from, then you will know exactly that they originate from Africa and from the West Coast. When he mentioned words like chaka chaka, poto poto, is similarly the same words that we use in Freetown to say something is not done properly, chaka chaka. For say, you de waka na more way income, poto poto, or you cook rice with poto poto, where if you say that na one of me in trade. You need to cook rice and yes, the always poto poto. So it has been an amazing show, and we've just have started to ignite areas that will be of so much concern as the show proceeds further. But definitely, language is the first, and it's going to be intertwined with every other topic that we're going to bring alongside the culture show. So I will say thank you once more to the guests, and thank you to those who are on Facebook and YouTube. And it is a pleasure to have you guys as the guests for the first cultural show, which is language for today. And definitely, there is going to be more that will be on the platform. So it's been a pleasure for me. King Mufasa, as I say, thank you to you once more. Over to you, the cow foods.
Thank you very much, King Mufasa. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you. I will let go of Ayan the first and H Paten. I'll let go of you guys now, and we will just
good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
God bless.
Thank you.
Good night.
We're waiting for next time. We're waiting. We are waiting.
Yes. Brother Femi, do you have any closing words to say as we, of course, as the others have gone? Brother Femi.
Hello. Yes. I was just going to say thank you to the guys. They did an awesome job. We learned a lot. They spoke about identity, and I think identity is key when it comes to languages. I mean, like Dr. Paten said, they are the lost people, so they don't know their origin. My ancestors are similar, but we closed the loop. So when our ancestors were taken on boats across the Atlantic, and they went to most of these cities, they went to the door of no return. They never saw their lands back. Our people came back through those doors and came back to what is Freetown, and an establishment for the freed slaves. But for me, identity is very important. I learned it at an early age because I grew up my early years in Italy, and in the 70s in Italy, it was not the same. Europe in the 70s was not the same as it is now. So I had to learn at a young age why I look different to most of the other people in my classroom. And my parents were great teachers. They ensured that although we lost the language, speaking the language, myself and my sister, but my parents always spoke it to us, so we understood it very, very well. And when we returned to Freetown, we picked it up very, very quickly. Within, 3 to 6 months, we could speak the language. I don't know if it's fluently, but years down the line, I believe me Creole better past Tibo young Creole grew up and born and all in Freetown. So
not possible.
But na Kono man, Emi na Creole man, so no go compare the two. As I be talk Kono pass and safe, and Creole as I be at the beat and Pandandi as well. So, but it was an interesting conversation. I liked the callers. I liked how we all differed in how we think we want to achieve this thing. But as they say, there's many roads lead to Rome. We're all fighting to get in the same direction. How we get there, we have to hang our heads, pull our leaders, and get going to get there, to achieve. I toured East Africa. I went to a country in East Africa, and I learned that Swahili is actually being shown upon by the locals, because they see it as the colonial language. So a lot of countries there are trying not to speak Swahili anymore, because they believe that it was the language that was used to oppress them. So you see, some people think that Swahili is a uniting language, others think that it's not. So it's important when we talk about unity, when we talk about identity, but I guess we can tackle all of those in the future show. Over to you, Yusufu.
Wow. It has been a fantastic discussion so far, and I want to thank everybody, of course, who've been listening. In conclusion, we have to understand that language embeds or enshrines everything that is about us. As Mr. Jamboria mentioned, that your language informs your I am. When you say I am Mandinka, I am Timini, I am Fula, I am Soso, you're referring straight to your language. Your language carries almost as if it carries your DNA. So not to speak your language almost implies that you have cut yourself off from your own DNA and you are looking to graft somewhere else. Even as I am talking English language to you now, I speak English language to you using my own form of speaking it in terms of my own accent. You and I would agree, especially us Africans, you and I would agree that when we go to school, in Sierra Leone particularly, we want to boast that we speak in the Queen's language. We laugh at the Mende man when they speak in the Mende with the Mende accent. We laugh at the Timini when they speak English with the Timini accent, or the Loko or the Kuranko when they speak with their own accents. In doing that, when we laugh at our own people in speaking their own accent, when we ignore that, what does that inform us about our own I am? What are we saying about ourselves about that? When we laugh at us, our own speaking our own languages, are we saying that the English language, speaking the English language, makes any one of us better than the other? Are we saying that speaking our own languages means that we are illiterate? Does it mean that when we speak our own language, we cannot develop, we are not advanced? Is that really true? Is that what we believe? I would like to think that we can do better than that. That we must understand speaking English, speaking French or Portuguese, any of those other languages. We must understand their place in terms of a function that they serve to help us either to get a job somewhere and so on. But it cannot be done in spite of our own native tongues. Because in doing that, we will eventually lose what it means to be an African, what it means to be a Sierra Leonean. What does it mean to be a Limba person? If I do not know anything about the codes of Limba, and those codes are embedded in the language. What does it mean to be a Mende? If I don't know the codes of Mende, the codes are embedded in the language of Mende. What does it mean to be a Fula, a Mandingo, a Soso, a Kuranko, a Vai, a Gizi, a Bulom, a Krim, all these other languages that we speak in Sierra Leone? What does it mean to be them if we don't speak the language and when the codes of these cultures are all embedded in the languages? So, like most of the speakers have already said, it is important that we begin to look at our languages and teach them to our children from the homes. Many of us, in our generation, we struggle to speak our languages, including myself and many others. We do. But maybe we must pluck the courage to take our children back home. We must pluck the courage to take them back home and put them in the environment where they can just begin to hear the tones of these languages so they can begin to adjust themselves, readjust themselves to really, truly who they are. Because it's going to be important for one other reason. How do we lock our culture up so that nobody can appropriate our culture? Today we talk a lot about cultural appropriation. But how do we lock it? You see, in England, they lock their culture. You cannot appropriate English culture without being sued. They lock it. And one way they lock it is with languages. They put many different languages that they call law, legal language. They lock it with these and thous and all this kind of stuff. They put it in many books and they lock it. Much of our own artifacts that have been taken from Africa, stolen from Africa, brought over to England, Germany, France, America, wherever it has been brought, they have been locked here primarily by languages. If you don't believe me, attempt to try to get any of your own African artifact from any of these museums and see, let them come with the amount of books and files and papers. What do you read in them? You read languages, whether it's French, whether it is English, whether it is German, you read languages. They lock it with languages that you and I would not be able to understand easily or decipher that easily. They lock it. So I think for us, we need to learn our languages, even for that reason, that we can lock and make much of our culture so it cannot be appropriated. When I do my storytelling, I have ways I lock my stories using my languages. I lock it so that it's very difficult to tell my story anywhere. Ask any other storyteller and they'll tell you that when I tell my story, it's very difficult to tell them. Except you go back to my village. Then you hear my people telling it there. I lock it because I do not want other people to be taking my people's stories and then just think they can use it any way they like. So I lock these stories. Language is important for that reason, locking our own sacred art. And that, for me, is where I'll stop tonight. Kapu sense, no Kapu word. Look for wisdom. Don't just hear the words, but look for wisdom. That is where I'll stop tonight. But before I go, let me say that it's been great to have all of you on board, and thank you, Mr. Juma. It's great to see you as well here. I know you've not necessarily contributed, but it's good to see you here. But I'll say that the culture show is going to continue. 2 Tuesdays from now, the culture show will be on, and the topic then will be food. That is what we're going to be looking at. I know Mr. King Mufasa wants to say something before we go. Yes, I'll allow you to say something.
Right. What I want to remind the viewers of is the fact that we did not do the Mind Your Language itself. So basically, what's in a Mind Your Language, now one of the games then we don't say, we they incorporate with the culture show. Now for the next show, what they get for food, like anybody we don't watch the program, make a sentence, a 1-minute sentence video, and send them to the Sarah Jen Media group, either to Yusufu, to Femi, to Juma, or to T-Boy. So we'll be able to actually use that particular video there and express the way how you actually say a sentence in a different language. So for example, if you're not Kono, now for say a sentence in Limba. If you're not Limba, now for say a sentence in Kono. But you just choose any of the 14 or 16 tribes they will get a salon with the different languages they will get across so that you go for make a statement just in a minute. So we're able to play on the day come 2 weeks Tuesday from now. That's not the Mind Your Language segments. We will decide for make everybody get a feel of how the other language sound or look like if you decide for learn them. Because basically we decide for say languages not something we'll go for interact with, or we get some elements of knowing some basic facts of those particular ways of saying something in those different languages, so no we'll go struggle if we happen for them at the different towns then in our own small communities first, then we can take an out beyond. Over to you, Carfoot.
Thank you very much. Yes, definitely. Please, when I get involved, learn language. learn somebody else's language. And next week, not next week, the week after next, for the next show for food, we will let for una own contribution based on the language they want to learn. Okay, let's make this fun and make we bring the contribution on. So if you send your video clip in, we'll go add them on the program and we'll play them during the program. With that, thank you very much. Kapu Sense, no Kapu Word, me, na Yusuf Ujalo with Sierra Gem Media. Una good night. God bless you now all.
Yes, this na term for all Salon people and then party them. Sierra Gem Media will be bringing you a variety of programs ranging from documentaries to discussions, interviews, news, views, sports, and entertainment. Our programs will contain matters on development, governance, the economy, and issues that are of importance to Sierra Leone. So, no left BNO because we get Bebe program then like Salon discussion, meets the ministers, the president's hour and the Gladi program, Look Me, I Look You. All this they start soon na www.sierragemmedia.org. Now who's term these?
When I was young, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences seen now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we do now? Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abuse little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape, sexual abuse, or pedophilia, is a killer to human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence.
Speak now.
The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
I think death sentence should be the consequence of such terrible act.
And you mothers, build confidence in your children, put trust in them, listen to them when they make reports, and take necessary actions.
Talking of mothers before now, women were virtuous.
They were mothers, daughters, and sisters.
Nurturing, counseling, supporting their men folks.
But now,
women are trafficking female children for money.
Women are forced to be silenced.
All this must stop, and it must stop now.
Real men do not abuse, rape, or molest women and children.
It is barbaric, unacceptable.
Let all real men stand with us.
Together, let's say an emphatic no to rape, sexual abuse, pedophilia, and domestic violence.
Hello, my name is Josephine Kamara. I'm the founder of You Can Do It Foundation. You Can Do It Foundation is a charitable organization based in Sierra Leone, West Africa. You Can Do It Foundation has been in existence for the past 2 years. We have been fighting gender-based violence against women and girls within the community. During the past 2 years, we have been offering psychosocial support, counseling, court fee, medical fee, including school items to the survivors of gender-based violence. However, during the lockdown of COVID-19, report received and confirmed that rape cases among a minor has increased tremendously within our community. Because of this, You Can Do It Foundation has secured the land to build an accommodation for the survivors of rape. However, this may almost become impossible without your generous support. We need your help to build this home for the survivors. Your help could be in cash or in kind. If you wish to join us to make a difference in a child's life, please go to our website, which is www.youcandoitcyf.org, or you can go to our GoFundMe page, which is Home of Hope for the Survivors of Gender-Based. Or you can contact us with the details at the end of this video. We thank you greatly for your generous support, and thank you once more for making a difference in a child's life.